At this time, we invite our beloved brother, one of our great resourceful persons, in person of our beloved brother, Brancha Gordon, who will deliver the lecture titled Counseling the Depressed and Fearful and Knowing When to Do So. So, we humbly call our brother to please speak.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
I want to say thank you to David Akpata for coming late. Because most everything I'm going to say today has already been said by me or by others, but for David, it's all brand new. He's not heard any of this. And so I'm thankful that he has come late, so he will think I'm something special, which I am not, right? I want to talk to you this morning about counseling the depressed and fearful and knowing when to refer, page 37 in our books. Ministry counseling is a part of every successful minister's toolbox. I often refer to that. I often refer in my ministry to a toolbox. I have a toolbox at home. It has many things inside the toolbox. It has a hammer, screwdriver, different tools for different jobs, right? In the ministry toolbox, you also need to have many different tools in that toolbox. In your evangelism efforts, you need to have many tools in the toolbox, like World Bible School, door-to-door preaching, Bible seminars, many different tools in your toolbox. Because people are different and can be reached in different ways with different tools. In the churches, there are some members who will not need any help from you. They're okay. They're stable. They're fine. But there are some members that will need some assistance from you. Whether it be benevolence, whether it be counseling, advice, training, some members will need more of your attention. And so counseling is one of the tools in your toolbox that you can use whenever it is needed. And it says, while it may not be your favorite part of ministry. Why do I say that? Because it's not mine. It's not mine. I don't much appreciate counseling. Me. I don't much appreciate that. Most, now I'm just speaking my heart, right? Most of my counseling sessions have been people crying about their problems. I don't want to hear that, right? Most people just want to cry about their problems. I don't want to hear that. And so counseling for me, right? But for some people it is very needed. And you need to know when it is needed to do counseling and when counseling is a waste of your time. Counseling is a very much needed aspect of your ministry and your toolbox. Before we march into some keys for successful ministry counseling, As I said yesterday, let me also stress that you are a preacher. You are not a licensed counselor or a licensed therapist. You're not those things. There is a limit to what you are able to do. So keep that in mind. Your job as a preacher is to do two things. To preach the word from the pulpit and to preach and do evangelism. If you fill your time with counseling sessions, which is easy to do, you'll neglect your God-given role of preacher and evangelist. I want to go back yesterday to what I said, because what I said did not come out as clearly as I wanted to. In America, I'm going to use an American euphemism, okay? Americans know what I'm talking about. Sometimes preachers can fill their day with so many different tasks, they become an office boy, okay? An office boy. They're busy handling the electricity, the NEPA. They're busy doing this. They're reorganizing the library. All these other things. Good things to do. But it's not your job. Right? Your job is to preach and teach the gospel, not to reorganize the church library. There's a member for that. Right? But so many of our preachers are afraid of evangelism that they fill their time with other tasks that are not their job. So they're busy all day, but they're not doing the real work of the gospel, right? Counseling is a needed part of your ministry, but you have to be careful and put limits on how much you do, because that's not why your number one job is to preach and teach the gospel, not sit all day and listen to people cry about their problems. Now I know I make half of you mad, upset with that, but that's what I feel. People love to talk about themselves, and they all have problems. Now, that sentence is very important. People love to talk about themselves. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in this. But if you ever talk to me, right? I should say always, many times, I will try to put the conversation back on you to get you talking about your family, your work, what's going on in your life, instead of what's going on in my life. Because I want you to feel comfortable. Okay? And so people love to talk about themselves. And as an effective counselor, they're coming to you not to hear about your child or your wife or your issues. They're there to talk about their problems. So you need to learn the art of getting people to talk about themselves, right? And so when you are in a conversation and things are going in whatever direction, if it comes to your side, turn the conversation back to them. Get them talking about what's going on in their ministry, in their family, in their church, or whatever the case may be. I'm not just talking about counseling. I'm talking about in many areas of life. And when you get people to talk about themselves and you actively listen, remember us talking about that? You underestimate the good it will make that person feel. Right? When you turn the conversation back to them and you listen to what they say, active listening, you make them feel so much better. Because it's a conversation, and you turn the conversation back, you ask them about their family, what's going on with that business, or how did it go at that seminar, this or that. You turn the conversation back to them, and then, so you're saying the Bible seminar went very well. Do you hear how I did the active listening? Right? So I'm doing the active listening back on that person. That person not only is able to talk about themselves, but that person, since you are actively listening, that person feels heard. They feel important. You've taken a few minutes of your time to listen to their family issues, seminars, works, ministry. You've taken a few minutes to get them to talk. You've actively listened. You've given it back to them, so now that person feels heard. How many people are in Nigeria? 200, what million? That's a lot of people. But if you take 5 minutes of your time and you're talking with someone and you get them to talk about themselves and then you actively listen and you say back to them what they just said, out of 200 million people, that person feels important. That person feels heard. In your country of 200 million people, so many people pushing and going and trying to make a way in this country. And so often, they feel like their voice is not heard. They're not listened to as a person. They're not important enough to be heard. But you have taken 5 minutes of your time, turn the conversation back to them. You have actively listened. And now that person feels like the president of the country because you have taken just a few minutes to actively listen to their life. Don't you worry, David Akpata. We're going to come to everyone else here knows what active listening is, but you don't. That's okay. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, right? People love to talk about themselves, and they all have problems. If you allow them to fill up your schedule with counseling, you'll be spending all of your time talking about people's problems, and those people get a free therapist. Now think about that. Why go to a professional therapist and pay money when I can just go talk to the preacher and talk to him about my problems? It's free. Be careful with that. Remember, the gospel of Jesus, the gospel is the focus of your ministry. In order to have a truly impactful ministry, you will need to do some counseling of members and non-members. In ministerial counseling, there are several keys to consider when counseling in ministry. And I've already talked about some of these, and other people have already talked about some of these. But we're thankful that David is here. We can go over these again. Number one, practice active listening. Don't forget, What you're doing is you're listening to what that person is saying. That person is talking about their problems. You are asking open-ended questions. You're getting the person to talk. And then when they tell you their issue, you repeat back to them in your own words a summary of what the issue is. And then that person can confirm or correct your summary, right? Yes, my husband comes home every night. He's drunk every night. He wakes up everyone. There's a big challenge. And then you repeat it. Okay, so what I hear you saying is that your husband comes home and there's a problem. And then she will say, yes, you're right. Practice active listening. Number 2, holding a non-judgmental attitude. Now, this is hard one sometimes for us to do. Of course, people are going to make mistakes. Thank you. Hello? People are going to make mistakes. They are going to say and to do the wrong things in their marriages, in the workplace, and in the church. As I travel throughout the world, one of the many things I have learned along the way is that people are people and everyone makes mistakes. An American euphemism is a boneheaded mistake. That's what we would say. A boneheaded mistake is a stupid choice. Everybody makes stupid choices. When you're counseling someone, they may tell you the deepest truths of their life. And you may 100% disagree with those choices. However, hear them out and listen to what they're saying. In order to actively listen, you need to listen to them. Now, you also need to watch your face. Watch your face. Someone is telling you, I got drunk last night. I beat my wife. And what is your face doing? I'm not saying anything. My face is saying enough. Right? My face is saying enough. Now, if you're sitting, bring me that chair. Bring that chair. Someone is talking to you, and you're in a counseling session, and you're, so what I hear you saying, that person does not feel heard, right? Okay, so the person comes home drunk, right? And he's telling you all about he beats his wife. See the arms? The arms are, that's very closed, right? You're not very, even though you're not saying anything, the person feels like you're judging them. When you sit with someone, maybe sit on the edge of your chair, sitting straight, looking at that person. Now, most Nigerians don't have a problem with that. Other Africans do. You need to be culturally aware. Some Africans don't like to look at another person in their eyes. Okay? They like to look off. Especially when they're discussing something very serious or personal. They won't look at you, they'll look off a little bit. And that's okay. Don't be offended. As an American, I struggle with that. Because eye contact is very important for an American. But I have learned that I have to be aware of where I'm at. Okay? And so, sitting in your chair, looking like you're interested in what's going on, be careful of your face that you're not, I'm not saying anything. My face is saying it. My body posture, it says enough, right? I'm not interested in what you're saying. All right, thank you very much. Here we go. Hold a non-judgmental attitude. You may disagree with what they're saying. Hear them out and listen to what they're saying. Number 3, show empathy and concern. Empathy is an understanding of their emotions. Why is that person coming home drunk? Why? Try to find the reason underneath. Now, in my experience, when you have a conflict in the church and 2 people in the church are fighting, they'll find an excuse to say something like, Brother Amos doesn't believe in baptism, because he said this or that. Well, that's not what Brother Amos said. Amos says, no, I didn't say that. And there's an argument. But what's the real problem? It has nothing to do with baptism. The problem is that brother is having a problem with that brother, personally. And so they use doctrine or something else to cover what the real issue is. So when someone comes home drunk at night, what is the real issue? Do they feel worthless? Do they feel depressed? Are they under stress because their money is finished? Well, what is the main problem under the presenting, what's the word I'm trying to think? When someone comes home drunk, there's a reason why they're doing it. They're trying to escape, whatever the case may be. In your counseling sessions, you're listening to try to find what is going on under the situation. Why is she sleeping with other men? Why is he coming home drunk? Why is she spending all the money? What is going on under the problem? Okay? Once you resolve that issue, then you can help the issue that's presenting. Show empathy and compassion. As a minister, show some care and compassion for the person you are counseling. They are struggling with an issue, and you need to be there for them. In fact, everyone you meet today, everyone in this hall today, is struggling with an issue. Myself, I am struggling with an issue. And so when you get on the bus to go home, everyone you see is struggling with something. When you're driving on the road, everyone is struggling with something. Anger, resentment, disappointment, feelings of failure and guilt. Everyone is struggling with something. And so, show some grace to everyone that you meet. Show some empathy and some compassion. Number 4, scriptural applications. Consider biblical verses to help the counselee in their situation. perhaps have a handy scriptural reference nearby to give to the person to study scriptures on that topic. I knew one counselor that had a file system on his desk with different slots and papers in each of the slots. And when he would counsel with someone, he would just go to a slot, pull out this paper that has a list of scriptures that talk about drunkenness or infidelity or whatever. Some scriptures on that paper and maybe some things to consider. That person, that counselor would give to the counselee to take home and to read and to study later. He would have that right on his desk and he would say, okay, he would listen, and he'd say, on the way out, he would pull it out. Go home, brother, and think about these scriptures right here. Number 5, know your limits. You're a preacher. You're a minister, not a trained therapist. There is a limit to what you are trained to do in counseling. Your job is not to solve all of the problems of the person from their childhood, but to help them make their day a little bit brighter. You are certainly not going to fix all of their issues at one session either. You have to have multiple sessions with that person. But my point is with that, I'm not against counseling, but I am against counseling that person for 5 years, discussing the same problems, discussing things you're not trained to do. Your job is to preach the gospel, to give advice and counsel and listen on a short-term basis. Number 6, confidentiality. It is vital that you keep the discussions you have with people private, even from your wife, so that people will know they can trust you with their issues. Even if you say, okay, you relate a problem to one of your friends, and you're relating a problem to that friend, you're not using that person's name. Your friend doesn't know who that is. But what is your friend doing? Your friend is listening and making a note that you will talk about other people's problems. Keep confidentiality at all times with everyone that you know. And I really liked what Victor said yesterday about counseling, even with things that are scriptural or spiritual problems. When you're counseling someone with a spiritual problem and you know that they're sinning, you need to have empathy and you need to hear them out. Why are they doing what they're doing? The purpose of the session is not for you to preach at them. The purpose of the session is for you to listen and get them to resolve their own issues from their own life experiences. Not for you to preach. Confidentiality. And number 7, cultural sensitivity. In today's climate, it seems many more people are shifting from place to place. I've talked with several of you who are in churches where people are more often shifting. You baptize someone, 3 months later that person shifts because of a job to Port Harcourt or a good job. It's very challenging. But even in different areas of Nigeria, people are different. They have different cultural things in their areas. Where I live in America, there are certain things in my area that other people would not understand. and just the way that we greet each other and talk to each other, just some of those everyday things in my area that are not the same in other places. You need to be culturally sensitive to all of those. You need to attune, to listen, and to understand, to fully understand the person's struggles. Now, I'm here to talk about depression and fear. Fear holds us back. Fear, everyone has fears of different things. We all have different fears. They may be legitimate, they may be correct. I have a fear of drowning in water. No one wants to drown in water. That's a fear. That's a healthy fear. But then there are other fears that maybe are not as healthy. All of us have different fears in our lives, and some of those fears keep us back from what we're able to do. Think about missionaries. I know every one of these people up here. I know every one of them. But how many people are here? I mean, look at them. You've got Bill Pinnell, me, and a guy named, not Butch. Steve Hilton is his name. Steve Hilton is that guy there. That guy there is McAdee. Everybody knows the guy in the red shirt. What's his name? Doug Leader, right? Jerry Bates. That's Stephen Ashcraft. He works a lot in Ghana and other places in West Africa. I don't know who that guy is. This guy here, he's very cold. Yeah, he's very cold. Yeah, Keith the Sergeant, Doug Wheeler, and look at all these guys. But how many missionaries come to Nigeria? Not many. Because there's a big fear people have about going to another place. Especially about coming to Nigeria. People, Nigeria, I don't know about that, And so that fear holds people back, okay? Holds potential missionaries back from coming and doing some good work. I'm sure I know many people today in my friends who could come here and do great missionary work. But fear holds them back from doing it. Fear keeps us from doing some things in our lives. I'm also here to talk about depression. Depression is defined as a common mental health condition characterized by a persistent low mood, loss of interest in personal activities, and other symptoms that interfere with daily life. There are several symptoms of depression, like persistent sadness or feeling of emptiness, loss of interest in activities previously enjoyed, changes in appetite or weight. Maybe they lose weight or gain a lot of weight. Maybe they're sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Sleep disturbance. A loss of energy. They're just so tired. They don't want to go do that. Difficulty concentrating or making decisions. I just don't know what to do. We have to decide and I don't know what to do. They don't know how to make a decision. Feelings of guilt or worthlessness. Now, I want you to notice this is a mental health condition. For many years of my life, I disagreed with that. Depression, a mental health situation? No. That person, if they feel sad, they just need to do something to feel happy again. They just need to look at the blessings that God has given them. They need to pray and rely on God. I had this attitude that no one really gets, it's not a real problem. If you feel depressed, just find a way to be happy again. That's what I often thought for many years. I didn't understand until one day I had a friend who was going through depression. And it was then that I learned you can't just make yourself happy again. Sometimes you need professional help. And that person needed professional help. Now, using the competency-based counseling method, that can help people who are in a mild depression. People who are feeling down, who are a little bit depressed, feeling kind of bad. The competency-based counseling model can help those individuals make the situation a little better and make them see the bright side of things. And that probably is 90% of the people with depression. They're down, they need some encouragement, and you're just showing them a way so that they can be encouraged. Using the competency-based counseling method. Some people cannot. Some people are so trapped by depression that no amount of counseling is going to help in that situation. They need some professional medical treatment and some advice. And you need to know when to be able to refer someone on. I always thought that depression was a made-up thing for people who just felt sad. Until one day when a friend of mine was suffering from that illness, and I had to help him. I learned then how real depression is and how it affects many aspects of a person's life. Depression is like a weight. It's a weight on you that can pull you down. Sometimes you need additional help. As a ministry counselor, you can help listen to a person's problems and help them find solutions. Oftentimes, this will bring the person out of the depressive state. Sometimes the person is too depressed, and you'll need to help that person find professional help. If you are counseling them and they are not making progress after 2 or 3 sessions, or going back to the competency-based counseling method, and you're using the scale, remember the scale. What would it look like if it was, instead of a 5, what would it look like if it was a 4? A little bit better, right? Or so the 4 is worse. If it was a 6, just a little bit better. What would it look like if it was just a little bit better? And if that person is not able to visualize, he's not able to imagine a time when it could be better, that's when you need to refer. If you cannot help that person see possibilities, it's time that person is beyond you. It's time to refer to someone else. You need to help them follow through with the help that they need. And what I mean by follow through is, don't just say, well, Brother David, You know, I really think that you need to go talk to a professional therapist. Right? You need to go talk to a professional therapist. And then say, bye-bye. No. You can't do that. Because that David, whoever, will never go to a professional therapist. Number one, where are they going to go? Two, how could they even find the information? They don't know. And then number three, what about fear? Hey, that person knows you, but they don't know that person over there. And so fear holds them back from seeking the professional help that they need. You, as a counselor, if that person is beyond you, you need to hold their hand. Hey, here is a list of 3 professional counselors, 3 professional therapists that I know that may can help in your situation. All right? Oh, by the way, the church will pay half the cost. Uh-oh. In America, some churches even will you put a lawyer on retainer. Right? You pay a lawyer every year so much money, and that lawyer will be connected to that institution or that firm on retainer. And that way, that lawyer is always ready if he needs to be called upon. You can do the same thing with a counselor. Talk to that counselor, make an arrangement with the church, or many churches can make an arrangement with that counselor and say, we would love to refer you to someone else. And so refer a patient to you. And so that church can refer a patient over, that counselor can get in. That way, that person can get at least the first visit. At least the first visit paid for with the counselor. And then after that, maybe they can make an arrangement with the counselor going forward. I don't know. But you, the church, can't just say, you need professional help. Depart in peace, be warmed and filled. You can't do that. What good is that? You need to tell them where to go, who to talk to, give them some assistance maybe to be able to make that happen. Now, I know that this is maybe beyond some of your churches, but it's something for you to consider in the future. And then you need to follow through. Call up that counselee. You're the minister. Call up that counselor. Hey, did you go talk to that therapist yesterday? How did it go? Follow through. I couldn't make it. Well, set up another appointment. And then when the next appointment comes, you call again to that counselor. Hey, how did that visit go? That counselor knows that you're going to call and ask. And so he feels compelled to fulfill that appointment. Follow through. And if you're not able to handle the situation, that's okay. Refer them on to someone else. But your job is not done. Your job is to follow through. Help them get to the appointment. See that they see a counselor. Follow through. Ask how things went. What can I do to help you? See that they get the help that they need. One quick note on depressed individuals and ministry counseling is to be careful. You may have good intentions and do everything correct. That person whom you are counseling, whether they be depressed or whatever, they may act out in ways that can damage or destroy your career. If you are counseling someone of the opposite sex, take steps to make sure that no one can accuse you of doing anything improper. Now, when I did counseling, when I got to my first church and I started doing counseling, I told the church, okay, there's my office door where I would do counseling. I said, brethren, I want you to put a window in my door. Cut a hole right in the middle of the door and put a piece of plastic right there. They said, why? I said, because anyone who's at the church can walk by and see that I'm doing something, but they can also see that I'm not doing something improper with that person. Right? If it's just you and a lady behind a closed door, it is your word against hers. Take steps. So when I had the window put in my door, and I was counseling a woman that I had questions about, my wife would conveniently be cleaning the building over there. Right? She would conveniently be doing some work on a classroom or tidying up somewhere. Right? She cannot hear what's going on, right? But that window is there, and that woman knows, right? And so she cannot accuse me of anything. If she does, well, no one saw anything. I didn't do anything. No one saw anything. I have a window. I have someone else in the church building. They didn't see, all these other reasons why I can dispute it. Besides just me and her in a room behind a closed door, that's very challenging. Be very careful about those things. Some people to hide their own problems, okay, will cause a distraction to distract people away from their problems. They will accuse you of doing something inappropriate so that no one is looking at that person. No one's looking at her because she's accusing you of doing something wrong. Now, she no longer has to worry about her problem. No one's looking at her problems. Everyone is looking at this. Healthy boundaries are very important. Okay? And one of the things that I have learned throughout my time, I was taught this in my counseling class. Listen to your wife. Your wife knows things about ladies in the church that you do not know. And your wife picks up on little things that women do that you do not. Maybe, I'm being honest, some people, men or women, love to go after other married men or women. They do. It's a mental health problem. That's what I think. But your wife can pick up on things. And when your wife says, be careful with this one, take steps to be careful with that one. Listen to what your wife says. But also, when you do that, It makes your wife feel heard and appreciated. Be careful when you are in counseling, especially with depressed individuals. They feel sad and lonely, and perhaps sleeping with the counselor will make them feel better. And maybe your own wife has been sick lately. And you're lonely a little. That 10 minutes can determine the rest of your life. Set boundaries. Be careful when you counsel people of the opposite sex. Make sure that no one can accuse you of doing anything improper. Meet that person in public. Meet them at a restaurant. Meet them at the church building. But as I said, have your wife or another lady nearby cleaning the floor. One person's false accusations can destroy years of successful work and sow seeds of doubt and distrust in your ministry. Protect yourself and your ministry by insisting on methods that protect you. Ministry counseling is a needed field. I look forward to the next few years where there will be more of this in our churches to help more and more people. I want to make a few more comments. When you refer someone, you want to, that person needs something beyond me, and they need a professional counselor. Chad Wagner, I have no idea how many counselors you have in Nigeria, how many therapists you have. I have no idea. I have no idea what medicine is available to you for different things. I mean, I had no idea. I had no idea about this until about 5 years ago. When I learned about 5 years ago all these things, I learned, wow, it's just very eye-opening. I have no idea what's out there. But I would encourage you today to start shopping for some of these therapists and professional counselors. Before you meet them, hey, go talk to them. Buy them lunch or meet them for a drink or something to get to know who that person is. That person can be a male or a female. It doesn't matter as long as they're professionally trained. Go get to know who they are. But also, follow up on the counseling sessions. There were some professional counselors that I have sent people to, and I have followed up on them. And you know what? That so-called professional counselor was causing me more trouble. Refer them to someone else. Okay? Get to know the professional therapists and counselors in your area before you need to refer them. Who are they? Yeah, I'm finishing right now. 3 minutes. All right, I'm finishing right now. Get to know who they are. Are they members of the church? Are they not? Are they Christian? Are they not? What is the emphasis of their counseling? Get to know those things and some people that you're comfortable with. And then you can make a list of 2 or 3 or 4 that you can share with that person to find whom they are comfortable with. Make a list and then follow up. Thank you very much. I really see the future is very bright for counseling, for helping people with mental problems. I really think it's going to be a good day. The more that we learn, the more that we understand about mental health and the challenges that every one of us face. I think that the statistic is 80% of people everywhere throughout the world will at some point in their life have a mental health challenge of some sort. It may be severe, it may be mild, but 80% of the people throughout the world have some sort of mental health challenge at some point in their life. That means that 80% of you will have some sort of mental health challenge at some point in your life. Just realize that people that you're talking to are dealing with stress and depression and emotions and aggravation and guilt and depression and disappointment. Show some grace and be ready when they come to you. May God bless you all in Jesus' name. And I want to say thank you for everyone who came out to this seminar. Thank you very much. For all the speakers, you've done very well. God bless you.
This next meeting is